Hello, everyone. Today, I have an amazing story for you. It is not just a story for listening practice. It is also a story about dreams, courage, hard work, and never giving up. The story is called Nothing is Free. It will show you that success does not come easily. If you truly want something in life, you must be willing to work for it. Let's begin. There was a young woman named Emily. Emily was 21 years old and lived in a small, peaceful town surrounded by green hills and mountains. She had a big dream. Emily wanted to become a successful businesswoman and one day own several cafes in different cities. But her life was far from easy. Her family struggled financially. Her father, David, worked as a carpenter, while her mother, Anna, worked as a cleaner in several houses. Emily also had a younger brother named Daniel, who was only 11 years old. Daniel admired Emily more than anyone. To him, she was not just his sister, she was his hero. One cold evening, Emily sat outside her small house and looked at the stars. The town was quiet. The wind was cold, and the lights from the houses slowly disappeared one by one. Emily looked at the sky and whispered, "I want to give my family a better life. I want to build something of my own. But how can I do it when we barely have enough money?" The next morning, Emily told her father about her dream. David listened carefully. Then he smiled and said, "Emily, dreams are not free. If you want something, you must work for it. You don't need to start big. Start with what you have." Emily thought about those words all day. Start with what you have. That evening, she noticed something interesting. People in her town loved homemade snacks and fresh cakes. But there was only one bakery in the area, and it was far from the town center. People had to walk a long distance to buy fresh food. Emily suddenly had an idea. I could sell fresh cakes and snacks here in town. But there was one problem. She had almost no money. She couldn't afford an oven, ingredients, or even a proper shop. Still, Emily refused to give up. She remembered her father's advice. Start with what you have. The next morning, Emily walked several miles to the local bakery. The bakery belonged to an older woman named Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown was a serious and careful businesswoman. Emily stood outside the bakery for a moment, took a deep breath, and walked inside. "Good morning, Mrs. Brown," Emily said. The woman looked at her. "Good morning, what can I do for you?" Emily explained her idea. "I want to sell your cakes and bread in my town, but I don't have enough money to buy them in advance. Could you give me some products for 1 week? I'll sell them, return your money, and keep a small profit." Mrs. Brown looked surprised. "Why should I trust you?" Emily answered confidently. "Because I'm willing to work hard. Give me one chance, and I'll prove that I can do it." Mrs. Brown remained silent for a few seconds. Finally, she nodded. "All right, I'll give you 1 week. But remember, if you don't pay me back, there won't be a second chance." Emily smiled. "Thank you. I won't disappoint you." The next morning, Emily woke up before sunrise. She traveled to the bakery, collected the fresh bread and cakes, and carried them back to her town. Then she placed them on a small table near the town park. She smiled at every person who walked past. Fresh bread, homemade cakes, fresh and delicious. At first, nobody stopped. Some people looked at her but continued walking. Emily didn't feel discouraged. She cut a small cake into pieces and offered free samples. "Please try one." An elderly man stopped. He tasted the cake and smiled. "This is delicious." He bought 2 pieces. Soon another customer arrived, then another. By the end of the day, Emily had sold everything. She counted her money carefully. She had made her first small profit. That evening, she returned to Mrs. Brown and paid her exactly as promised. Mrs. Brown looked at her and smiled. "You kept your word," Emily replied. "I told you I would." From that day forward, Emily worked harder than ever. She woke up at 4 in the morning. She traveled to the bakery. She carried bread and cakes back to town. Then she stood at her little table and sold them until evening. She was tired every day, but she never complained. After several months, Emily saved enough money to buy a small food cart. Now she could carry more products and sell them in different parts of town. Her business was slowly growing. One afternoon, one of her regular customers said, "Emily, you're very good at selling cakes. Why don't you learn how to make them yourself?" Emily smiled. "I've never baked anything before." The customer replied, "Then learn. If you make your own products, you can earn more and create your own recipes." Emily couldn't stop thinking about those words. That night, she made an important decision. "I need to learn." The next morning, she went back to Mrs. Brown. "Mrs. Brown, could you teach me how to bake?" Mrs. Brown looked surprised. "Why would I teach you? If you learn to bake, you may stop buying from me." Emily smiled. "You're right, but I'll never forget that you gave me my first opportunity. If I become successful, I'll always remember you." Mrs. Brown thought carefully. Then she said, "All right, but baking is not easy. You will make mistakes. You will waste ingredients. Your hands will hurt. Are you ready for that?" Emily nodded. "Yes, I'm ready." Her lessons began the next morning. Emily arrived at the bakery before sunrise. Mrs. Brown taught her how to measure flour, mix ingredients, prepare dough, control the temperature, and decorate cakes. At first, Emily struggled. Her first bread was too hard. The second one was too soft. One cake collapsed in the middle. Another one was so salty that nobody could eat it. Emily felt embarrassed. One evening, after another failed attempt, she sat alone in the bakery. She looked at the ruined cake and whispered, "Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should stop." Then she remembered her father's words. "Dreams are not free." Emily wiped her tears. "No, I'm not giving up." The following morning, she returned to the bakery. She practiced again, and again, and again. Slowly, her skills improved. After several weeks, Emily made a beautiful golden loaf of bread. Mrs. Brown tasted it. She smiled. "This is excellent, Emily. You're ready." Emily couldn't believe it. She had learned something new. She had turned her mistakes into experience. With her savings, Emily bought a small second-hand oven and began baking at home. Her family supported her. Her mother helped prepare the ingredients. Her father repaired her old food cart. And Daniel helped her put labels on the packages. Soon, Emily was selling bread, cookies, cupcakes, and small cakes. The people in town loved them. "Emily's cakes are amazing. Her bread is always fresh. Let's buy from Emily." Her little business became more popular every week. But just when everything seemed perfect, a new challenge appeared. A young businessman named Ryan opened a large modern bakery in the town. It had beautiful lights, colorful signs, comfortable chairs, and expensive-looking cakes. Customers became curious. Many people started visiting Ryan's bakery. Emily noticed that her sales were falling. For the first time, she became frightened. "What if I lose everything?" But Emily didn't panic. Instead, she decided to learn from the competition. She visited Ryan's bakery and carefully observed what customers liked. She realized that his shop looked cleaner and more attractive. His cakes had beautiful designs. His customers also had more choices. Emily went home and made a plan. She cleaned her food cart. She painted it. She created new cake designs. She learned cake decoration by reading books and watching free lessons. She also started giving small samples to customers. Most importantly, she listened. She asked, "What would you like me to improve?" Some customers said they wanted more cake flavors. Others wanted smaller and cheaper snacks. Emily listened to every suggestion. She didn't become angry when customers criticized her. She used their advice to improve. Slowly, her customers returned. One afternoon, an elderly woman came to Emily's cart. She smiled and said, "I've watched you since the beginning. Many people give up when things become difficult, but you kept going." Emily smiled. "Thank you," the woman replied. "That is why people trust you." Those words meant more to Emily than money. Months passed. Emily saved enough money to rent a tiny shop. It wasn't large. It didn't have expensive decorations. But Emily made it warm, clean, and welcoming. She put a simple sign above the door. Emily's Fresh Bakes on opening day. Her family stood beside her. Her mother prepared tea. Her father helped arrange the tables. Daniel welcomed customers with a huge smile. Emily stood at the door and said, "Welcome to Emily's Fresh Bakes." The shop slowly became popular. Every morning, Emily woke before sunrise. She baked fresh bread. She prepared cakes and pastries. Then she opened the shop with a smile. Her dream was finally becoming real. But Emily soon discovered something important. Success does not mean that problems disappear. Sometimes bigger dreams bring bigger challenges. One stormy evening, Emily was preparing to close her shop. Suddenly, she smelled smoke. She looked toward the kitchen. Smoke was coming from the oven. Oh no! A small fire had started. Emily quickly called for help and managed to stop the fire before it spread throughout the shop. But the damage was serious. Her oven was broken. Several pieces of equipment were destroyed. Some of her ingredients were ruined. Emily stood in the middle of her damaged bakery. She felt completely heartbroken. She had worked so hard to build everything. Now, in just a few minutes, so much had been lost. The next morning, Emily sat outside her shop. She looked at the damaged equipment. For a moment, she thought, maybe this is the end. Then she remembered where she had started. She had started with nothing but a dream. She had sold bread from a small table. She had made mistakes. She had faced competition. She had learned new skills. And she had never given up. Emily stood up. "This is not the end," she said. "This is just another challenge." She counted the money she had saved. It wasn't enough to replace everything, so she decided to ask for advice. Emily visited Mrs. Brown, who was now retired. "Mrs. Brown, I don't know what to do. My bakery is damaged, and I don't have enough money to rebuild it." Mrs. Brown smiled. Emily, do you remember what you learned when you started? Emily nodded. Nothing is free. Mrs. Brown replied, Exactly. Success requires effort. You have already overcome many challenges. Don't let this one stop you. Emily returned home with new determination. She started baking again, using the small oven she still had. She told her customers, My bakery is damaged, but I won't stop serving you. I may have fewer products for now, but I will keep working. The people in town were touched by her courage. Some customers bought extra products to support her. One person brought ingredients. Another person helped repair the walls. A local carpenter offered to fix the shelves. Even children from the neighborhood came to help clean the shop. Emily couldn't believe it. She realized something powerful. When people see someone working hard and refusing to give up, they want to help. After several months of hard work, Emily reopened her bakery. It looked better than before. The walls were freshly painted. The shelves were repaired. The kitchen had new equipment. Emily also introduced new products: muffins, cupcakes, fruitcakes, and special homemade cookies. On the day of the grand reopening, the whole town came to celebrate. Emily stood outside her bakery and looked at the crowd. She felt tears in her eyes. Her father hugged her. Her mother smiled proudly. Daniel shouted, "That's my sister!" Emily laughed. Then she turned toward the crowd and said, "I want to thank every person who supported me. When I started, I had very little money. I had no shop, no experience, and no special equipment. All I had was a dream. But I learned something along the way. Nothing in life is free. Success is not free. Knowledge is not free. Respect is not free. Even our dreams require sacrifice. You will make mistakes. You will fail. You will feel tired. Sometimes you may even want to give up. But failure is not the end. Every failure can teach you something. Every challenge can make you stronger. And every small step can take you closer to your dream. The crowd applauded. From that day forward, Emily's bakery became more than just a place to buy bread and cakes. It became a symbol of hope. People from nearby towns began visiting her bakery. Some came for the food. Others came because they wanted to meet the young woman who had started with almost nothing and built something through hard work. Years later, Emily opened her second bakery, then a third. Eventually, her dream of owning a chain of cafes became a reality. But Emily never forgot where she came from. She continued helping young people who wanted to start small businesses. Whenever someone asked her, "What is the secret of your success?" Emily always gave the same answer. Start with what you have. Work for what you want. Learn from your mistakes. And never give up. Emily didn't become successful because she was lucky. She became successful because she kept moving forward when life told her to stop. And that is the real lesson of her story. Dreams are not free. They require hard work. They require patience. They require courage. They require sacrifice. But if you are willing to work for your dream, even the smallest beginning can lead to something amazing. So, whatever your dream is, don't wait for the perfect moment. Start with what you have. Take one small step. Learn, work, fail, try again, and keep going. Because nothing is free. But everything is possible when you refuse to give up.